Okay, how did, Evelyn, do you hear an echo?
Not no more.
Okay, let's hope everybody else is gonna join up. There you go. That's better. Let's see. I wonder if Selena could ever hear us a minute ago. There's Chloe. There's Julia. And then hopefully Max, and there's Max is there. Good. Julia's still connecting. Okay. Well, let me give her a minute here. She's still connecting. How is everybody in the meantime?
Good.
Good.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to show this video, and this video has to do with something we did some in the first class and a little bit in the second class. And that has to do with lifting. And the thing about watercolor is a lot of times, and I've talked about this a little bit before, people will think that when, like, maybe you put a color in the wrong place, or you made it too dark, or you want to lift some of the color while you're working on it as well. So this guy's kind of a goofball in the video, especially at the beginning, but he gets really, really good tips about lifting the color of your paint, your watercolor. So let me share the screen. And oh, what happened to it? Wait a second. Just a second. Let me stop the share. I screwed up here. Let me open my Blackboard first, and then I'll share it. Okay, I'm going to come back. And let me remember to share the sound too. Alrighty.
You know, what you take away from a painting may be just as important as what you add. Yeah, I said it. Deal with it. Going back to the mind of watercolor, everybody. Well, today we're going to talk about lifting or removing paint. Now, this is a very important technique to learn. You're going to at some point need to remove paint. Most likely it's because of highlighting. It can be done at different stages, and there's a number of ways you can do it. But before we do that, say hello to my buddy Reese. Still rocking the shades, eh? He's just being stubborn because I told him he didn't need them. So in traditional transparent watercolor, white is your paper. You don't paint with white. Basically, you leave the highlights. You plan around the paper so that highlights are either masked or painted around. However, you can't always plan for every single highlight, every single white, the amount of white. In other words, you may have painted something and you want it to be a little brighter than what you painted it. Inevitably, you're going to need to get into lifting. Not only are you going to use lifting for highlighting and adjusting values, you'll use it for things like softening edges and even the occasional correction. Not me. I'm perfect, right? Oh, shut up. All right, so first of all, let's start out with you're painting along. You want to lift while you're painting, and this is the most common way. Basically, you're painting common rock. All right. Basically, you take the brush that you're using and you dry it out very thoroughly. A dry or nearly dry brush will pick water and pigment up almost like a sponge. And you can see how I'm pulling out highlights. Now, not only does that create a highlight, nice little highlight, but it stops the flow of water. It's because the water is still damp, or the paint is still damp, that I'm able to do that.
And he's cleaning out his brush.
You can actually start modeling the highlights on this rock. And this is the most natural way to do it. When this dries, this will look the most natural. So the way to practice this is just start painting. Just paint some amorphous shapes like some rocks. Thoroughly dry. You can use a paper towel if you want. It doesn't have to be. I use an old hand towel, but the point is to squeeze out to as dry as a brush as you can get. Now once the paint dries, obviously you're not getting much. It only works while the paint's very wet. Now I've lifted out some very nice little highlights. Now I could paint around that to begin with, but sometimes, you know, it's more intuitive to actually lift out where the highlights are. But if you're painting bigger shapes, and I want to make a bigger shape here, we'll go to the second technique for lifting while you're painting, and that's blotting. In this case, I'm just using a tissue. Got light coming from this way, so let's say I want to throw in some highlights. Very similar to scraping, if you're familiar with scraping. I don't do scraping. It's not a technique I'm very comfortable with. A lot of watercolorists do use scraping and do a very good job at it. It's a legit technique. You have to get the paint while it's wet and before it soaks in and starts drying. Let me show you another really common use of blotting or lifting. Now I look at that and I say, okay, I want to get some clouds in there. Some nice fluffy white kind of cumulonimbus clouds. Again, same tissue. In this case, I'm pressing pretty hard. Okay. And where that has dried, that's stopped that water movement. Not only has it lifted the paint, but it's created a hard edge. When you start drying the surface, the water stops moving. I can even go in now in that same wet and wet area and darken that, and that paint's going to come up to those edges and it's going to stop. This could continue to spread in the wetter areas. So if I wanted to feather this color up into the cloud from the bottom, I can do that with a dry brush. So with blotting and drying your brush, there's a lot you can do while you're actually painting to lift. Very important technique and one you will use a lot. Alright, so how does lifting work once the paint is dry? And I think this is probably one of the most exciting aspects of watercolor if you do it right. Now, the proviso I have here is that it's a very easy technique to overdo and make your piece look overworked. So you want to be careful. You want to do it in a limited fashion. Papers differ in the amount of sizing, so some lifting is going to be easier and more successful on certain papers and less successful on others. Either way, you want a very good quality paper. Again, that's the one thing I harp on, but it's really true, especially when you get into the more abrasive forms of lifting, which I'll be showing you in a few minutes. So let's start with, again, a standard brush. And this would be the most gentle. And by the way, I'm going to go from the gentlest to the most aggressive forms of lifting. You paint the area that you're going to lift. And I'm just going to do stripes across this blue so you can get a comparison. But you want the water to penetrate and loosen up the already wet, or excuse me, the already dry paint. And as it lifts it up, then you dry your brush and go back and lift that pigment. And you go back and forth. Okay, I'm adding more water. You can do this with smaller brushes if you're trying to do it in a more detailed area. And when you use a standard watercolor brush, because they're soft brushes, your highlight and lifting is going to be fairly soft. And most lifting in general has a kind of a soft edge quality. Again, I'm going to wet my brush again. I'm going to wet that area. I'm going to dry out my brush real well, and I'm going to lift. that moisture back up, and pigment comes with it. The next level, and this is probably my favorite, are bristle brushes. Bristle brushes are typically used for oil painting or acrylic painting. They're not usually used for watercolor, except in this case. Bristle brushes make an excellent lifter and gentle scrubber. When you get into scrubbing, you're actually scrubbing the fibers on the surface of the paper. So let's try a bristle brush. Again, I have thoroughly wet the bristle brush, and I'm going to paint water into the dry pigment. Because bristle brushes are stiff, they give you a little more scrubbing action. Then I start the process of drying the brush tip, which then allows me to lift the moisture and some of the pigment with it. But where it excels is I can get a little more detail, and then when it comes down to stubborn colors, I can start scrubbing. If I go back and forth, you can see I am able to get a little bit brighter. And this is a thinner line, but I'm able to get a little bit brighter line. And you can, I don't know if you can see it if I'm close enough. I'm starting to peel back some of the paper fibers. And you should be able to see that's a brighter, more precise line than that. And that's what's good about bristle brushes. All right, the next level are called scrubbers. It is also a bristle brush, but it's extremely stiff, like a toothbrush. So these have almost no give at all. It's like wire. It's like nylon wires. Well, this is a much more abrasive form of lifting, but you do it the same way. You wet the brush, get water down, and even dab it if you don't want to do too much scrubbing right off the bat. Scrubbers come in different sizes. I get this little tiny detail one here, but very stiff, very abrasive. Same technique, dry it out, go back in, lift. But you can see I'm getting to the white of the paper much faster. Right now I've already got it to the point of a standard brush, but we're going to take it a lot further. We're going to do what it was intended to do and actually scrub the paper. You do this lightly and gently. Again, something you want to use in limited amounts, but you can see in the progression from how much pigment is coming up. This is getting the most. Now, just as a special effects thing, I'm going to show you two other things that are used that I would classify as lifting. One is scraping with a craft knife or an X-Acto type knife. And this is good for fine lines, like branches or grass, or even if you want to scratch a little highlight on the tip of something. But it only works well for those fine details. Again, not something that you want to get carried away with. And here's another special effects one, sandpaper. Now I primarily only use this for highlights on water because it looks like sparkles, you know, along the water. Let me show you. Difficult to see there, and I may have paper that's a little too fine. If you get really coarse paper, you'll get more of a fleckled, speckled look, but it produces a very scratchy look that could be used in a number of ways to create texture, I suppose. Suppose you have a flat sphere like this. Let me show you how I would model that using lifting. Now, in a real situation, I would paint that sphere as modeled as I could get it and then just go up, touch up the highlights. But as an extreme example, we'll do all the modeling with lifting. And I'll show you how I would do that. First of all, using a standard watercolor brush, I'm going to go in here and just flood the whole thing with water. I'm just going to loosen the whole thing up. Next, I'm going to blot up on the upper edge. So I'm going to do it again, a more limited area now. And you can see I'm getting some pigment there. This is definitely a higher staining color. Now I'm going to scrub or work it a little bit with the standard brush. Again, I like to start with the most gentle forms and work down to the more aggressive, more abrasive forms. Go again. Sometimes it takes patience. It takes a while. I'm working as though my light's coming from this direction, so you know what I'm modeling for. So I'm working towards a three-dimensional sphere look. Okay, blot it completely dry. Now let's move to the bristle brush. And I'm going to more localize the highlight now because I want it to be hot right in this area. And it will get you out of jams sometime, these highlighting techniques. You know, because you forgot to leave a highlighter, you forgot to do something, or you made something too dark. Now, stage 3. You don't have to go through all these stages, but I'm just showing you again, just as I did over here, the stages. So we'll make a hot, super hot highlighter right there by scrubbing that back to almost white. And voila. Well, there you have it. That's lifting. Very essential technique, used in limited amounts, but very important. In fact, I'm going to add that to my basics, watercolor basics playlist, because it is such an important technique. I hope you'll try it. I hope if you have some lifting techniques that I didn't mention that you like, put them down in the comments and we'll talk about them. Thanks so much, guys.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to move over to what we were working on last time. And I'm going to tell you that for today, you're going to need, in addition to your paint and stuff, you're going to need your tape, scissors, saran wrap, and salt. So I'll give you a minute to get those things together. That's tape, scissors, saran wrap, salt. And I'll move over to my board. Let's see. Right up there. Okay, I'm going to try to do this today without knocking over all my water. Okay, so one thing I want to say, oh, wait, hold on. So I can see myself. It's also awkward here. One thing I like, and when I like, if I talk about any of y'all's paintings individually, which I will, I don't want anyone to feel self-conscious or anything. I'm doing this just because I want, like, I feel like it's beneficial and everyone can learn from it. And so, Selena, are you there? Selena? Oh, wait. Can you can't hear me, can you?
We can hear you.
Oh, you can. Okay. Selena, can you hear me? Can you unmute? Selena? Yes, yes. So what I was just gonna say, when I looked at your images that you sent me today, and the one thing I noticed, and like we all can learn from this, is that on your water where the paint was, it was too dark. So we always want to make sure that initially that we make the paint more transparent so that we can see the white of the paper coming through the paint. Because I know you missed the first class, and with watercolor, if we want something to be light, we don't use white, but we use the white of the paper as the white. That's why it needs to be more transparent. And also the other thing is that watercolor is meant to be built up in transparent layers where it, if you need it to get darker, it'll gradually get darker instead of initially getting darker. Although those techniques that goofy man just showed us, those can help you, if you made something too dark, make it lighter. So what we did last week is we painted down the mask, right? And we're gonna leave the mask on there. And then we glazed over a thin layer of blue paint, right? Everybody remember that? So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take our tape, and if I can get my tape to work, we're gonna cut out or tear strips that also kind of mimic waves. So I'm gonna cut me out a few strips. I'll show you, like, probably should have cut these out ahead of time, but then they would have all stuck to everything. So we're gonna cut out like a few of these shapes and put them down over our surface here. And it's okay if they partially go over the white areas that you had put the mask on. They don't have to be as big as what I'm cutting either. You can have smaller ones. These are just supposed to be like additional ripples in the water. That's too symmetrical. And also, like, once you get them where you want them to be, make sure you like burnish them down, because we don't want any paint leaking through them. So you all can start doing this now. Oops, mine worked. Shoot. They can go in these strips of paint. They can also go, you know, where you have that darker reflective area. You can put like a few smaller ones back there. Why smaller? Anybody want to guess? Let's have somebody guess why these would be bigger up front than the ones further back.
Perspective.
Yes, because it's further away, and the further away something is, the smaller it appears, and it'll give it a sense of, as Max said, perspective and depth. So we want the smaller ones in the back and then gradually larger as we move forward. I should have mentioned that at the beginning, but it didn't occur to me initially. I'm going to put a few more here, and then I'll tell you what we're going to do next. That's a big one. And then finally, when you get them all done, you're gonna take a strip of tape and you're gonna run it along the edge of the reflection so that it is, let me see if I can have you see this a little more clearly. Ugh, that didn't help. So my tape is right above where the reflection is. Now we're gonna make sure everything's burnished down really good. We don't want paint leaking through there, any of those areas. I'll give you another minute or so with that. Well, I get all my other stuff together.
I have a question.
Yes.
I put my tape down and it went on a mask. Like
No, that's totally fine.
Well, my question is, when I took the tape up, a little bit of the masking like came off. Is that a problem?
Oh,
it's not the whole thing. It's just like the corner of one of them, but
that's fine.
Okay.
That's totally fine. You'll get like, you know, like a little more variation there.
Okay.
Here, let me do something. Okay. So are you still putting tape on?
Yeah, like you said to put tape across the shadow, but even if we
Above
cover
the shadow, like right
above
on
the
top
shadow.
of the shadow. Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause
And even if we cover the other thing on top, it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. And the reason why we're putting the tape there is because right now, when we paint the water, we only want to paint the water.
Okay.
We don't want to paint what's above the water.
So I have a question. If our water line, like in between the top and the bottom, is kind of like wavy, do we want to we don't want any of the top we want all of the top to be covered as more of the priority, or we want all of the bottom to be uncovered as more of the priority?
We want all of the bottom to be uncovered. So let's say, for example, I'm trying to make sure I understand. Like instead of your water line in between where the trees are and the reflections are, like your water line is not a straight one, which it wouldn't be in real life anyway. Yours is more of a wavy one. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So what you could do, it takes a little more time, is you could either cut or manipulate the tape so it goes over that line, or in the future, don't do this now, but in the future, if you were painting something like that, this would be an instance where you could use mask.
Okay.
To protect your upper area.
Okay. I'm just gonna kind of manipulate it for right now.
Yeah, yeah. That was a good question. Let's see something where I messed up. Okay, how's it going?
I'm almost done.
Okay, sorry, and I'm sorry. You guys call me on it when I'm being impatient. Like, I don't want to be impatient with y'all. I want you to take your time, but I tend to be impatient, so I got to stop it, right? Stop it, Ms. Secor. Oh yeah, I was supposed to be getting stuff ready anyway. I don't know how good of a view I have for y'all. It's all like so freaking precarious. Maybe I should tilt this down more. Ugh, go like that, maybe. How's that? Where is that? Okay. Okay. So once you have all that taped down, you're going to take a blue, and it doesn't even have to be the same blue that you used the first time. The first time I used the ultramarine blue, which is this regular blue. And this time I'm going to use the turquoise blue. You might have turquoise, or you might have phthalo blue or some other color. But I'm going to use this color right now. So let me zoom my camera this way now. So like we did before, when we did a glaze, you're gonna wet your smaller flat brush at first. And then you're gonna, like make yourself a pile of paint, just like you did before. Pile of paint with a pile of pigment. Try to get enough in there so it'll cover the whole area. With water added to it, of course. I'm gonna put a little bit more. I had to rearrange my boards so these two aren't, you don't care, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I had my trees on the other side of my lake, but because I need to show you something else today, I had to move things. So fascinating. I'm sure you're all so interested in the arrangement of my two paintings. And then once you get, enough paint there, then we're going to glaze. And remember, with glazing, you don't want to go back and forth. You want to go one direction. You want to overlap. And, like something you could do, since we're glazing this water, something you could do is, it's going to be hard for me to do this and show you, but maybe it won't be. I'm going to put a book right under the top edge of my foam core. And I'll tell you why I'm doing this in just a second. I'm doing this. You gotta hold it down though, because it's like I needed to put it in the middle of it. There. I'm doing this because and tell me if this makes sense. I'm going to start at the top of my water, and I'm going to gradually doing overlapping strokes. I'm going to paint down. And what is that tilting going to do to the paint? Anybody? Well, I guess I'll tell you.
It'll bring it down.
It's gonna pull it down.
Yeah. So all of you are right. It's going to pull each subsequent layer of that paint down, but it's not tilted like I didn't put the entire set of encyclopedias under it, let's say, because you don't want it to tilt up all the way. You just want it to be tilted up like maybe an inch or so. So I just put it like a regular book. And yes, it'll gradually bring that paint down so that each of those layered lines are gradually bleeding into one another. So that way you'll eliminate some of those brush strokes, hopefully. I had a printmaking teacher that whenever she would demonstrate, she would always say hopefully about things, because they don't always, like even the most like seasoned professional doing something, they don't always work. So we're gonna do these overlapping lines, trying to paint in a single direction, trying to go, they overlap, and you're trying to go relatively rapidly. Like sometimes I'm going over them twice, but I'm only have my brush at that, I'm just using the tip of the brush And I'm not trying, I'm trying my best not to overwork the paper, because I don't want that blue underneath. I don't want to lose it coming through, and I don't want to lose those reflections coming through. And that's why I'm only brushing like in one direction. I'm going to correct something here. I'm not over brushing it because I don't want the colors to mix. I want it to glaze on. Okay, so do that. Any questions?
Where my brown is at, that went a little darker with the blue. Is that okay, right?
That's what's supposed to happen. Yeah, because that brown is, that reflection, and that reflection's always darker than what the other colors, like your other colors of blue would be. So we're gonna that's gonna dry now. And then, well, that's drying. In a minute, I'll give you a little bit of time. I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do with those magazines. And then later on in the class, we'll come back and we're gonna do another technique on that. And then we're gonna do another technique on those trees. Then I'm just going to say something while you're working. Like if you were doing water like this, you could do like this layer, and then you could let it dry, and then you could put down some more tape and another layer and let it dry, and then more tape and another layer and let it dry. But what we're going to do later on is with saran wrap, because I just want to show you how that works as well, and it'll work fine with the waves of our water. So I'm gonna, while y'all are doing that, I'm gonna move back over to my computer. Oh, I want to make sure I'm still recording too. Oh, I am, okay. Oh, the rubber. Weird angle. Oh, crap. Okay, how's everybody doing?
So are we just waiting for this to dry?
Yes, we're
right
waiting
now?
for this to dry, and now I'm gonna
Hold
pull something up. Has everyone finished doing that? Yes, sir.
I think I made a mistake. Was I not supposed to wet over the colors and then lay down the blue again?
Right. So did you wet over them first and then lay down the blue?
That's what I did. Yeah.
Okay, as well, you know, like yours is just
I'm
gonna
gonna
come.
lay down another layer after it dries, without wetting it
Okay,
beforehand.
sure. That's fine. You know, like you'll just like sometimes things are perceived as mistakes, but then you might find you like what happened. But that's but that was like for what we were doing, we didn't wet it down first.
Okay. Okay.
But like yours is just going to come out a little differently and it'll probably be fine. Okay, so let me go to the.
I wasn't supposed to wet it.
Yeah, because like mine, I think it looks different than yours too.
I think everybody's looks
Yeah.
different than mine,
Yeah.
probably. You know, I'll like what we'll do. So, oh, thank you for saying anything because you just reminded me. So, what I'm going to start doing, and this is sort of as an incentive to get you guys to send me those photographs when I ask you to send them, is as part of our participation grade, every class and that you send me a photograph when I ask you to, and you send it to me in a timely fashion, that's going to be worth 3 points. And we have 30, I think we have like 32 classes or 30 classes during the semester. So that like equals like a total. Oh, well, actually, there's only like 28 classes that we paint. So 28 times 3, what is that? 84. So those will be part of your participation points. So if I ask you to send me something during class, send it. If I ask you to send me something once class is over, send it. Just make sure you send it on time because like I need to be able to see those images and in order to help you, especially in this weird Zoom environment. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
That you were going to get a participation grade anyway, and that's just, you know, like an incentive for you to do this. And it's also a good way for me to like keep track of things. Okay, so sorry, I didn't mean to spring that on you, but like 3 points, that's not very many points, right? You can do it. And you might even get more points. Okay, so let me find this PowerPoint. Oh, here it is. Okay. And then I'll tell you where this PowerPoint is in a minute because you'll be able to reference it. Okay, so I ask everybody to bring a magazine. If you don't have a magazine, I use an old intro to visual arts book and just cut things out of it. I know like some people freak out when they cut things out of books, but then other people feel like this is so liberating. I can destroy this book. And I'll tell you what the collage is in a minute, but I want to make sure that you send it to me today because I'm going to put it in a PowerPoint. And then next class, when we start working on this assignment, I'll be able to pull up images and talk you through how to do each section of your collage. And I'll talk you through like in front of everybody because they can learn from it too. So we're going to do these collages that are inspired by the work of this German artist named Kurt Schwitters. I have the most perfect German accent. And Kurt Schwitters was sort of indirectly, loosely associated with this group of artists known as the oh, I totally forgot. It's the Dadaist and the Surrealist. And the Dadaists and the, like, they were a group of artists that, and Dada means hobby horse. They were a group of artists that sort of developed in Germany and also France, like during World War One, because like nobody could understand why World War One was, you know, like regular people couldn't understand why are we fighting each other? Why are the French and German fighting each other? And it didn't make any sense to them. And then the Surrealists, they sprang up. I'm giving you like the loosest definitions of both of these. They sprang up right after World War One because this is a time where people are influenced by Jung and Freud, but also they also found the war in reality so irrational that they preferred the irrational of the unconscious and the dream world to what was going on in real life. And a lot of their work was like in some way or the other was inspired by the unconscious and the dream world. So what Schwitters did is he started using fragments of found documents. And like if you didn't buy a magazine, you could do this too, but I just want to make sure that that certain criteria are met when we put these together. So even like use found documents from newspapers, letters, books, wrapping paper, all this kind of stuff, tickets, to make these collages. And he called these collages MERS. And it's just like a made up word, like it didn't mean anything. And so this is what you guys are going to do. And I'll also like, this is on Blackboard in case you don't remember what I'm saying right this moment. So most of you have sheets of paper that are 10 by 15. Is that right? And then some of you have like, anybody have like your paper in a different size than that? Anyone?
Mine is a 15 by 20.
Okay, but so Evelyn, I think what I'm gonna have you do is you're gonna, since your paper's that big, 15 by 20, you're gonna work with a half sheet eventually. That's 10 by 15 of your watercolor paper, okay?
Mine is
Okay.
9 by 12.
9 by 12 will, is that Kaylee or Chloe?
Kaylee, yeah. My other
Kay-
one still hasn't come in from Amazon yet. The big
Okay,
one.
so Kaylee, we'll adjust the size to fit yours as well.
Okay. I have like other art paper, just not like I have sketch paper and other art pads that are bigger but they're not the watercolor.
Yeah, you gotta have watercolor paper. Okay. So do you think yours will come in by next week?
It should be here by Thursday. It says tomorrow at the latest. It got pushed. I'm not sure why, but it says tomorrow, so I'll have it by Thursday.
Okay. So I'm gonna, like, if you think you'll have it by Thursday, but maybe it'll be after class, right?
It should be before class because it should be here by tomorrow, which is Wednesday. But I mean, as far as everything goes, it should be here before the.
Okay, so we're good right now. We're gonna work under the assumption that your paper's coming in.
Yes.
And if it doesn't come in, then we can cut down your little collage.
Okay.
Okay, so most people's are, and even Evelyn, yours is going to end up being 10 by 15. So what we have to do, we have to make our collage half the size of that, but subtracting an inch from each side. The inch that we're subtracting, that represents the tape that you're going to put around the border of your 10 by 15 paper. So half of 10 by 15 is 5 by 7.5. And then when we subtract an inch from that, we're going to end up with a little piece of paper that's 4 inches by 6.5 inches. So everyone's collage is going to be made on a piece of paper that's 4 inches by 6.5 inches. So you don't have to cut it now. You'll cut it after I go through all this. So then when you cut out stuff from your magazine, you're going to cut out shapes. They can be irregular shapes, but they're going to be like strips and triangles and squares and rectangles, stuff like that. And you want to make sure that you have a wide range of values from light to dark, wide range of colors, a range of like some things that are patterned, some things that are textured, and some things that have letters on them. So I have this has got letters and numbers. This has letters. There's a dark red. This is a pink, so that would be a lighter red. I've got a couple of blues. I know you can see, but let me just do this anyway because it makes me feel happy. This one's got clouds in it, and this one it's just got little areas that look like they were lifted out of it. This one you can't. It's like hard for you to see, but this is just like a black right here. This has got a texture. So you're trying to get a wide range of things that you're cutting out, and cut out more than you think you're going to need. Then after that, I want you to use at least 9 of those pieces in your collage, and still trying to make sure you have that range of values, range of colors, some textures, some patterns, some letters. And then once you're happy with that, you're going to glue or tape those down to the surface of that piece of paper. And then finally, once you're happy, then you're going to take that sheet of watercolor, and you probably won't get to this right now, but I want to make sure you get that collage done today. Once you get that done, you're going to take a full sheet of watercolor paper, tape it to your board. Make sure you're using the right side of your paper, and you're going to lightly sketch in those shapes. You're not going to sketch in the textures. If they're letters, you could sketch those in. You're not going to sketch in the patterns. You're just sketching in the shapes of those things you cut out. So I'm gonna leave you be while you're doing that. What time is it? Let me unshare. Oh, let me tell you where this is so that you can review it. It's on our Blackboard page, and let me find that, and then I'll share that with you, so that you can reference that. So if you look at our Blackboard page, right below where it says start here, it's right below that, where it says homework February 2nd during class. That's where that is. And right now it is 3:29. So let's come back together at 4, and we'll do the next step on our watercolor. And I'll be here in case you need to ask any questions or anything.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna find the shapes and textures and things like that and cut them out, but we're cutting them out in a smaller piece than our actual paper that we're gonna end up sketching those shapes on.
Yeah,
correct?
so this is what you should do. You see where, are you able to get on the Blackboard page?
Yes.
And where it says homework February 2nd during class, open that up. Open up that collage assignment, and it has all the instructions for you.
Okay.
But you're correct. The template you're going to make that those are going to go on is going to be smaller than your watercolor paper, and in most cases, that little piece of paper you're cutting is 4 inches by 6.5 inches. Because we want it to be proportion. Oh man, I messed up. That's what's wrong with mine. It should be, if you're, sorry, I screwed up here. It should be 4.5 by 6.5 inches. And I'm going to go in to the PowerPoint and change that. Let me do that real quick because people will get mixed up. I get kind of dyslexic sometimes. Oh, heck. Oh, wait, well, that's where I'm supposed to be anyway. Okay, that should be. Oh, no, I was right the first time. I don't know where I came up with that. No, it's correct on there. So yeah, just anybody else have another question?
Just to make sure like I understood properly, right now what we're doing is on a 4 by 6.5 inch paper,
Yes,
but the other thing will be drawn on our full sheet of paper.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So then I can just cut this to be 4 by 6.5 for today since I don't have the other size of paper.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are we taping this down to our board or no?
You
Okay.
don't have to tape it down to your board. It can be, like in your hand.
Okay.
And you tape it to your hand. It doesn't have to be taped down. It's the
Got it.
long and short of it.
Okay. Thank
Just
you.
the little pieces of collage paper. I don't know if you have glue or not.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just gonna run to the restroom and I'll be right back.
Mona, Anita Gruste.
Can you guys hear me? My internet just went out.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
I'm so sorry. What are we doing right now?
Right now, we're just cutting a piece of our paper to be 4 by 6.5 inches. And then you're going to cut the textured pieces that she showed and glue them onto this, and it's going to be like your collage. But if you need like any instructions, they're all on what she has pulled up right there under homework February 2nd during class.
I just realized I didn't clarify something. I made an assumption. So maybe everybody doesn't know what I mean by using the term values. So what I mean by that, like a wide range of values, I mean, have some things that are light, like in the case of, like if you had a lighter red would be a pink. Or so things that are light, medium, dark, so that everything is not the same degree of lightness or darkness when you're picking those different colors. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Oh, I'm still sharing here.
How's that looking?
Oh, hold on, let me go back to the screen share. Are you showing me something, Max? You know
No,
what?
no.
Oh, okay. You can, if you're showing somebody else, you can mute yourself. This other one.
So basically, Professor, because I
Yes.
cut the paper by
Uh-huh.
4.5 and 6.5, and that's how little it is.
It's little,
So yeah.
like
So
4,
basically,
4 by 6.5.
4 by 6.5.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I
And
confused you for a minute there a while
okay.
ago.
Okay. And then so basically, we just put whatever fits on that size of paper, right?
Yeah, and things can overlap. Um,
Okay.
you know, like cut out more things than you think you need.
Okay.
And when you put them on there, you can trim them if you need to.
All right.
Okay, cool.
And Professor, we're just gluing these pieces to our 4x6 or taping
Yeah,
them?
like once you're happy with them, then
Okay.
you're just gonna glue them down to that.
Okay.
Glue, or if you don't have glue, tape. Excuse me. Hey, Kaylee, I looked at your images that you sent me and I sent you a note. But I only replied to one of them, the second one.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold, wait, can't even see it. There it is. I'm holding it up. And when I was talking about starting out lighter, and Selena, this would go to you too, because yours was a little dark. Like you want to, you know, like for that water and for things you want to be mimic the reflections of light, which most things do. You kind of want to start out lighter first, especially on large area, like broad areas that you're of color that you're painting.
Yeah, I when you were telling her that, I was like, I didn't do that.
It's
Also,
okay. It takes a while.
I noticed, but it wasn't until today when we were painting that I did it on the back side of the paper.
Oh yeah, and can you tell the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like tell me if this is correct on yours, because you know different papers reacts differently. But when you paint on the back surface, to me it seems like your brush strokes show more and it doesn't flow as well, right?
Yeah, the water, like whenever I was trying to do that painting sideways thing and like let it go down, it doesn't. It just stops. And then yeah, my brush strokes when I was doing that would always show, and I kept having to like re-go over it with water to try to like clear it out. But yeah, no, I didn't notice it until I was painting today, but there's definitely a difference.
Well, see, it's good, you know, like I think making mistakes is one of the greatest ways to learn. Because then you realize, oh, oops, let me not do that again, or let me only do it 2 more times, and then I'm I'm a goofball. Check and see if I haven't heard from Deborah today. I'm sort of surprised. Huh. Well, I guess not.
I was supposed to cut my paper 5 by 7, right? Not 4 by 6.5.
No, you're right. 4 by 6.5. Yeah, you did it
Okay.
right. Yeah, like we're not doing it 5 by 7.5 because we're compensating for the tape that's going to go around your big piece of paper.
And this is where these go on there.
What's that?
From the magazine, is this something different?
So why don't you look at the, like, if you go to Blackboard,
I'm on there right now.
and go through that PowerPoint, it's gonna tell you what you're doing.
The collage, right?
Yes, you're doing the collage right now on that 4 by 6.5 piece of paper. At 4 o'clock, I'm gonna show you the next step of what we're gonna do with, like, back to our water and our trees. And then after we do those 2 things, then you'll have time to come back to your collages if you haven't finished them. So just letting you know that.
Are we just waiting once we've done like the gluing? Oh, she can't hear me. Love that for me.
No, brother. Okay, let's take put your collage to the side. If you haven't finished it, you'll be able to finish it. I'll give you a second to get ready, and you're gonna need your saran wrap right now. Ugh. But not your cord to your headphones. What is this color? Okay, just when you're ready, each one of you one at a time say, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Okay,
I'm
Julie,
ready.
I'm ready.
is there anybody that's not ready yet? Okay. So what you're gonna do, first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna cut a piece of saran wrap that is gonna cover just sort of beyond the width of your piece of paper with the water. We're gonna cut that and we're gonna put it to the side. And like when you put it to the side, these are not the best scissors on there. Try not to wad it up too much because then you won't be able to unwad it. I'll take that and brother. I'm gonna put it to the side, but within easy reach. Now, once you do that, let me move some things here. I have way too much stuff. We're gonna make a big old puddle of paint that is watery, but at the same time full of pigment. And in this case, I want my blue to be somewhat darker than the blues on my paper. So how am I going to do that, seeing that there's only so many blues in your watercolor kit, right? So one way to make blue darker, and in fact, if you ever want to make black, you can make black this way too, but this time we're going to use more blue than brown. You mix blue preferably ultramarine blue. Look on the side and make sure it's ultramarine with the, let me look on the side of this, with your burnt umber. If you do this with that, that turquoise, it's not going to turn out the same because turquoise has some green in it. So we just want the ultramarine blue and the burnt umber brown, preferably. You could probably do this with other colors. If you wanted your blue to be a purpley blue, you can mix it with violet. But I'm using blue and brown right now, more blue than brown because I still want it to be blue. And I'm gonna make, like, again, a puddle of color. You're gonna need, you know, quite a bit. And in the event you don't mix enough, well, nothing's ever the same color, so don't sweat over it. But I'm gonna make an attempt to mix enough of this, which I probably won't.
You said to mix ultramarine with what other color?
With burnt umber, but use more of the blue than the brown, because that'll make like a really dark blue. And if you do it in the right amount later on, if you want to make black, you have to like finagle, like mix it around until you get the right mixture. But right now we're doing more blue than the brown. So it's the ultramarine, and if you have the burnt umber, the burnt umber. Obviously, like, it doesn't have to be this color, but this is what I'm doing because I'm trying to go for a darker color.
And the plastic, we're leaving it on top of the water or no?
Could you repeat that?
Like the plastic, we were supposed to leave it on top of the water?
Yeah, leave your tape on top of the water. Leave your masking on top of the water. We're leaving all of that for now.
No, but the plastic.
Oh, no, take that plastic off. That was just,
Okay.
you're cutting it and you're moving it to the side.
Okay.
Because we're going to have to be able to get to the paper.
Okay.
So remember when the difference between charging and glazing. Glazing, you're brushing the paint. Charging, you're just kind of applying it down. You're not brushing, you're just letting it, dabbing it onto the paper. We have to work really kind of fast when we're doing this, but just watch me, and then after I show you this, then I'll get you to do it. And if I need to repeat it, I'll repeat it. I don't mind. I don't have enough paint though, so I have to get more because I want to make sure I have at least a good amount. So when I do this, I'm not having to stop and interrupt myself by mixing. Okay, so I'm gonna start putting color down, and I want it to be kind of like puddly. I feel like I'm like this. Like, it's okay that there's puddles right now. Normally you don't want puddles, but we need to have puddles for this. And you're gonna have to work fast. I'm gonna mix some more paint.
And you're doing that with the two colors together, right?
Yeah, I got them mixed together, and I accidentally mixed in the other blue right now, but it's not the end of the world. Because nothing's a solid color. Okay, so once I get that all laid down there, I gotta work while it's still wet. I see an area I missed. I'm gonna take the saran wrap, I'm gonna lay it down, and then I'm gonna kind of manipulate it. Like I'm running my fingers through it, and then I'm gonna leave that overnight. And I'll tell you what's gonna happen. Like, don't lift it up, wait until tomorrow. But what's gonna happen is, so you want some of that saran wrap not touching the paper, and you want some of it touching the paper. And what is gonna happen in the areas where, let me try to remember how this goes. The areas where it touches the paper, those are going to end up being, I think, I might be mixing it up. I think the areas where it touches the paper, they'll be darker. And the areas where it's lifted off the paper, it's going to end up being lighter. Because the areas where it's touches it, where it's lifted off, it kind of pushes the paint away from it. So make sure some of your saran wrap is actually touching that and some of it is not. Like you don't want it all touching it. That makes sense? So just to reiterate that again, you are trying to make a big puddle of water. I mean, paint that's got full of pigment, but full of water. Then you're not brushing it on there. I'll do it here. You're dabbing it so that there's puddle, you know, like there's obvious puddles of water on your paper.
So do you want this color to be like really dark or kind of light? Like do you want it to be super watery or more pigmented?
Watery with a lot of pigment. So
Okay.
kind of in between what you're saying. So it needs to be watery, but it needs to have a ton of pigment in it. And it takes some, you know, it takes some getting used to. But because if you don't have a lot of pigment in it, then you can't really, like once it's dry, you can't really tell anything happened. So that's why you have to have like a significant amount of pigment in it. But you do want it watery because you don't want it to, because if it's not watery, it doesn't work. And if it's not full of pigment, it doesn't work. So it's kind of, you know, like tricky and it takes a little getting used to. And if we were in person, I could make sure you were all doing it right. But sadly, we're not. And you know, like, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to like necessarily advise you to do this, but I'm like, oh, what if I don't feel like I have enough pigment on it right now? And what if I don't feel like there's enough water? You can, before it's all, you know, before we, right now you could always go back in and like add more pigment because it's not dry and it'll, you know, it might kind of help some. Just want to do this like kind of all at once. So I'm gonna like repeat things, but just remember, once you put the saran wrap on, you don't want to flatten it out. You want to kind of lift some areas out. And I'm pretending like the areas that I'm lifting up like are waves of the water. Okay. And you know, like, if it doesn't work, you can always like practice it other times. Because again, right now we're practicing, we're learning how to do these different techniques. I'm even going to add some violet into part of mine near the, up here. And I'll just blab one more time. Like you seriously want to make sure you leave it overnight and don't lift it off before then, because otherwise it's not going to work. Oh man, it's so hard to figure out how to adjust this camera sometimes.
We were supposed to do it on the trees too.
No, don't do anything. I did that because I was showing somebody how to do it. No, just do it on the water. Because we're
Okay.
gonna do something different on the trees. I'm trying to like figure out how to adjust my camera so you can see my friggin' trees. My friggin' trees. Without the board falling off the table. So just let me know when you're done there.
Done.
Okay. Anybody else? You're the only person. Let me look at the time.
I'm also done with the collage. Can I show you so you can tell me if it's okay?
Yeah, you want to take a picture and email it to me, and I'll.
Yeah.
How about I do this? When because we'll do the trees in a minute, and it won't take very long. And then after that, I'll have everyone, because we'll still have some time. I'll have everyone who's finished taking their picture send it to me, and make sure, like, when you send it, will you crop it? So I'm mostly only looking at the collage. And then I'm sure it's probably fine. But then I'll be able to look at it and help you once we get ready to do the painting. I'll be able to help you figure out how to do each of those areas. But you could take the picture. You could totally take the picture now. And then like in a minute or so, I'm gonna show y'all how to do the salt. And then next class, what we'll do with the water, or you could do it like when you come to classes, we'll take the saran wrap off, we'll take the tape off, we'll take the mask off, and it might look like a big hot mess. But at least you like learn how to do all these different techniques. So while I have you here, some of y'all, for your trees, when you did them, like the leaves in them, you kind of like went an extra step. So they might be a little on the dark side. And what I'm going to show you, this next technique that has to do with salt, works better if the underlayer is lighter. If the underlayer is too dark, it doesn't work very well. So after I show you this, if yours is too dark, what I would advise is like take a little, lift a little of the color, blow dry it, and then do this technique. So is everybody like at a point where I can show you the next thing? Are you all still there?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you're all ready? More or less? Okay. So this time we're gonna use salt. It, you know, like different salt has different size crystals. So this technique, like depending on what kind of salt you used, it's each kind of salt is going to come out a little differently in the long run. And again, this is something that works best if you leave it overnight, because those salt crystals, you know, when they're attracted to moisture, they grow and change. So it's kind of interesting, like how this turns out. So I'm gonna use table salt on one of my trees, and I'm gonna use kosher salt on the other tree, just because I just happen to have table salt and kosher salt. You could use Epsom salt, you can use whatever, but if you only have like one kind of salt right now, that's totally fine. It's totally fine. So I'm going to this time use green, but I'm going to add a little bit of blue to my green because I want it to be darker than this green that's under here. And I'm going to be lazy because I still have some of my puddly blue left from before. So I'm just going to add some green into that. And we're going to do the exact same thing where you want it liquidy, but you want it full of pigment. You don't want it like dry, and you don't want it too transparent. So I'm making, like, you can't see. I hate my Zoom table. Let's see, what would be the best? There you go. I'll just do this right now so you can see this. So I'm just making a big, you know, I'm from Texas, from the country. So it's like a big old pile of paint right here. It's all pigmenty and watery. I don't need quite as much because I'm just doing the leaves and the trees. So once you get that big old puddle of paint, am I going too fast too? Just let me know. Then you're gonna again, it's like charging, where you're just daubing the paint over the leaf area. So it's like puddly. Then you're gonna take your salt, oops, too much, and you're gonna you're not going to dump a whole bunch on there. You're going to like do it between your fingers. So you're sprinkling salt over those areas. And again, you have to let it dry overnight. So I just use my table salt right there. And I'm gonna throw this over my shoulder so I don't have bad luck. Uh-oh, I'm sorry, I need a vacuum. And then I'm gonna make some more green that I'm gonna put on this tree, and I'm gonna use my kosher salt on that. Because those kosher salt crystals are larger. You could use sea salt, it doesn't matter, just as long as it's salt. You can use natron, which is the salt they use to mummify dead pharaohs. If you know where to get some of that, go back in time, go to Egypt, and then make sure you're in class on time next time. Let's see. Okay, I did way too much there, and it doesn't work as well if you're being silly like I just was. So there's that. And, you know, like in a second, after y'all do that, I'm going to show you one more technique. Just so you'll have it in your toolbox, as they say. Let me make sure I have the right side of my paper. Just going to use a little scrap. I kind of like how that salt's looking on those leaves there. Maybe I'll just let me know when you're done.
We do it on both trees, right?
Yeah, do it on both trees. And I just used 2 different salts because I had them. But make sure, like, don't do like I did and just like dump a whole bunch on it. You gotta kind of sprinkle it between your fingers because it works best that way. And then what's gonna happen is the pigment is gonna be drawn to the salt. So where each of those little granules of salt are, those little dots are gonna be darker than the areas that don't have salt on them. So I'm gonna grab something, and you could, like, once I show you this, you can practice it later because I didn't prepare you for it entirely. But I just want to show you something cool. Oops. Any questions? I had my headphones off for a second. And then after I show you this last thing, then I'll let y'all finish your collages, and then you'll take a picture where you crop it, and you'll email me that picture. The salt looks pretty cool though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, I like it. Smart. I like it. I'm gonna marry it. Okay. Let's see, core. I'm like about this time of day, I start getting delirious. Okay. Anybody still doing the salt? I'm going to take it as a no. Okay, so I have some alcohol right here, and I'm going to drink it. No, I'm not. I have some rubbing alcohol at this time of day. No, I'm kidding. And I'm going to pour a little bit into the lid. I poured too much, but it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to take one of my little round brushes. Seem to be missing a brush. One probably fell on the floor. And I am going, well, maybe I'll just take a bigger brush just because it's easier. And I'm gonna paint down some paint. And I'm painting it like it's not transparent this time. And then after I paint it, I'm gonna dip a Q-tip in alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Look at that. Can you see? I can't even see it, I'm sure. Look what it does. Let me get a clean brush. It can like, it kind of lifts up, well, as long as it's wet, as long as the paper's wet, it lifts up some of the color. That's creepy looking. After watching part of a really bad movie from the 80s where like these people are, it's called Food of the Gods. Has anybody seen it? Where they're feeding these like bugs and stuff this food, and then they become giant, and then they kill people. And for some reason, that just reminded me of it. Now, you got to do this while your paint is still wet, because you notice like it didn't work as well after it started to dry some. So then you can also like take a paintbrush that you dip in the alcohol, and see how it kind of like weirdly lifts some of the color. So like if you're trying to get an odd texture, this would be a, you know, a cool way to get it. You can also do it where, you know, I put this red down, but I could have had another, like this orange right here. I could have had another color down and then laid paint on top of that. And then when I lift it out with the rubbing alcohol, it kind of, it does it so you can see that orange showing through that had been painted before. You can't really tell. It looks exactly the same. But I can see the orange coming through on that. That's just something else you could practice. And whenever I find like videos on these things, I'll post them on our Blackboard page so that in case you're painting and you're like can't quite remember how to do something, you can always go back and reference those videos. So I'm going to let you take the rest of the class where you finish your collage and you email me a picture of your collage. And was that Kaylee a minute ago that said, or is it Chloe that finished their collage? And we're going to.
It was me and I sent it to you.
Okay, I'm going to look at it right now. I'm going to move back over to my desk.
So for the collage, do I need to rearrange the two pictures we already have on the board, on that white foam board? So that way the other picture that we're supposed to sketch the shape of the collage can fit?
Let me pull it up. Oh wait, I'm on the wrong page. Well, that's not it either. Oh, that was Selena. You sent me yours.
Yes.
So Selena, you, the one thing in yours, that yours is gonna be hard, and I'll tell you why. Because like, rather than just like, let me go back. I'm gonna show you mine again. Because yours is kind of like, and please don't take offense at this, because you have like people and lots of words and objects, like obvious objects in it to some degree, that it's going to make it more complicated for you to paint that. So I'm gonna share my my PowerPoint again, just so I can be a little more clear on what it is I'm asking you to do. Because I don't want this first assignment to be so impossibly hard for y'all that you can't do it. So let me share the screen here. And I'm just going to go to my collage. Not that my collage is perfect. So Selena and you guys, when you look at my collage, and I can like, I could probably even enlarge it. I'm gonna just enlarge this image.
On the corner of the PowerPoint, you can zoom in with that plus sign.
Oh, well,
Where it says
yeah.
sign,
Oh, yeah,
but-
yeah. And I could have done this too. Now it's too big. But okay, so if you look at this, you don't see any obvious thing or object. I'm concentrating more on colors, patterns, or this is like textures, patterns, like different sort of non-objective things, which means like I don't see Mickey Mouse, or I'm just using yours, Selena, because I saw yours, or a lady. Instead, you're just trying to get these squares, these rectangles, these shapes of textures. Like there's a texture of the sky, there's a pattern of this design, that's a texture on that one, this is a pattern. Because what you're going to end up having to do is replicate each of these in your watercolor. So what we'll end up doing is, like, let's say I have to paint this blue. Well, I got to figure out, like, how do I get it to look like this, where some areas of this blue are darker, but this is kind of lifted out of here. And if I paint this orange and yellow, what would I do first? I would paint the whole thing yellow. Then I'd mask out the circle. Then I'd paint, like that orange around it. So that's why, and I'm sorry I did it again where I made another assumption. We're not doing collages in the traditional sense like you may have done in the past. Does that make sense to everybody? And I'm sorry if, like, if I've wasted your time.
Well, is there a way to just take the outlining of those shapes, like you said, Mickey Mouse, like the ears or something, in still shape form?
Yeah, so let me, Selena, do you mind if I share your image with everyone, just so I can like talk to you about like what you could do. That's like proper English.
It's okay. And I'm already doing another one.
Oh, okay, because you know what you could do also is you could cut things and place them over, you know, like some of your areas. So that's the other thing is like maybe Selena, when you do the other one, because it looks like you have like about 20 different shapes on here, like limit it to let's say 9 shapes, and that will make it easier for you too. Evelyn, do you want me to look at yours now?
Yeah, you could show it. You could show it because I don't know if it's right or not. I just
Okay, so let
maybe
me
it's not.
I mean, you know, like like it's, let me just look at it first.
Did you not see mine on there too, or?
No, let me look again because let me tell you who I saw. I saws. I seen, like that's how my grandpa talked. Oh, Haley, I believe I did see yours.
Okay,
I'm
I
sorry.
just wanted to make sure you got it. No, you're good. I didn't know, maybe I'd sent it wrong, so I wanted to
No,
make
you sent it right, and I like it was above 2 other ones of yours. Oh, now we're echoing again. Okay, let me. Oh, we've got a big echo. I'm gonna.
If everyone mutes themselves, it should go. It should work.
Okay, let me share this. Okay. So Evelyn, some of these are like okay. Actually, I think you could do this. I think this is fine because even though we see obvious things, they have a, you know, like there's texture in this, and yeah, so we can do that. Oh, that's nuts there. That echo. Okay. Does somebody have 2 things open on their computer? Is that why this is happening again? Kaylee, I'm gonna open yours now.
So mine, I should just leave it like that. You said it's okay.
Evelyn, yours is okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Because even though the echo, even though there are obvious objects in there, they're not so complicated, and they have enough like textures and patterns. Okay, Kaylee is now. Oh God. Oh, what just happened? Hold on. Crap. Give me a minute. I kind of messed up here. I accidentally logged out of Blackboard. Okay. Let's see. So, Kaylee, I'm gonna share this. Figure out how. Oh, Julia, I see what you said. Yeah, it's causing an echo though. And also like I hear someone's phone. Okay. So Kaylee, on yours, like it's complicated It's pretty complicated, but I'm going to just say this. You have a, a limited number of things. So I think it's possibly doable. The part that's going to be the hardest are these flowers. Are y'all still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Because the echo went away, thank goodness,
Yeah.
but it made me nervous. So this area is going to be the hardest part
Okay.
to paint, but I think you can do it. And the trick is, and we'll talk about it more in class, but the trick with this one is you're gonna figure out where these super, like you look at it and you figure out like where the light colors are and what those light colors are. And like, and then also like if there's a darker color like this green, you still would start out with whatever the lightest shade of green is in this area. Like you would do washes of color and then you would build up details on top of those. So it's possible, it's just, it's gonna take a little while. Whereas maybe these other parts won't take nearly as long to do them.
Okay.
So maybe it evens out.
Okay.
Okay. Does anybody else have one they want to send me?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, like today we're just doing the small collage, right? Like the big one, we're still not getting started on that
Yeah,
one?
do not start that one until we come to class because I'm going to make a PowerPoint
Uh-huh.
and I am gonna like, I'm sorry, I got distracted. I'm reading a chat. I'm gonna make a PowerPoint and I am going to then in class meet with each one of you, but kind of like where we all can hear me meeting. And we're gonna kind of break your piece down, work on it section by section, and where I can talk you through, and I can also get your feedback on how are you going to approach this section of your collage, and how are you going to approach this section of your collage. Okay, so today all you're doing is you're finishing your collage, you're emailing it to me today. You're leaving the saran wrap and the salt on your painting, and that's it. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're sending you the 3 pictures, the one for the collage, the one with the salt, and the one with
don't send me the salt one and the saran wrap one yet because I want to wait until like the next class when we remove the saran wrap and we brush off the salt and we take off the tape and we take off the mask, and then I would want to see it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So just the collage. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, just all you're sending me today is, oh, look, you're not even looking at it. You're looking at my painting. Good Lord. Yeah, that's what you're sending me.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I was reading the chat, and Kaylee said that when we get the echo, if everybody puts their stuff on mute, that should help it. And then Julia, you said something too.
So I think I know what it is. Sorry, I'm not trying to like call anybody out or anything, but I noticed that Julia, your mute sign isn't muted if you have your phone muted, but only if you have your computer muted. Because you were saying that you were muted on your phone, but it wasn't muted on the computer. So that's why the echo is there. But when you unmute your phone, it's fine. But when you unmute your computer, it's not, basically. So right now it says you're muted. So We can't hear you.
You're muted.
No, we can't hear you. I think you have to unmute from your phone.
It's so complicated.
I know. It's a little, I used to have to do that with my phone too.
So what you're saying is that rather than muting her phone, she has to mute her computer.
Well, now we can't hear her at all. This is sad.
Oh,
Uh-oh. Do you have your phone unmuted or is it your computer?
I wonder if she can hear us. Here, wait.
I think she can hear us.
She said computer is muted.
Is there a way for you to unmute from your phone? I'm not on the phone anymore. Oh, that's why we can't hear you.
You can unmute. Can you unmute your computer? Oh, you have to have both the phone and the computer.
Yeah, what she's saying is she can't do audio through her computer. That's why she has to call in through her phone.
Oh, do you live in Houston, Julia? Because I wonder if you could get in touch with IT at school.
What part of the hood?
If you could north side, if you could. Now I've gotten completely distracted. I wonder if you got headphones and a mic like I have, because I have to do that at home. Like you could maybe get the school to lend you some if you like get in touch with IT. Do you ever see those slab cars? Yeah, those are cool.
My nerves should help. Okay.
Because they're from the north side.
Hey, Julia, I'm gonna put my phone number in a private chat with you, and you can text me, and I should be able to figure it out for you. We'll do it off of this though, so that we can get back to class for today.
Oh yeah, let me do it so you can privately chat with her. Yeah, you should be able to. Okay. Let me see if anybody else sent me a picture yet. Oh, where's my messages?
Professor, I have to get off of this to be able to send it.
That's fine.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and go and then send those to you, and then I'll see you on Thursday.
Yes, ma'am. That sounds good. And I think somebody else sent me one. I just want to check and see. Evelyn did. Oh, Evelyn, you sent me your saran wrap.
Yeah, I sent it before you had sent it to send it, sorry.
Yeah, it's probably going to be fine. I like how there's purple in there, it looks like.
Yeah.
Did you add purple to your blue?
No, not really.
Oh, well, it looks cool anyway. Yeah, and if I'll stick around a while, but if people have already sent me their collage and it's okay, you're free to go because we can't really do much more today.
Okay. Okay, so see you next class.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, bye.
Miss Secor,
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna go get a magazine on my lunch break. I kind of get the gist of what you're wanting now. So once I'm able to take a lunch break, I'll be able to do the assignment and then send it into you.
Okay, yeah, if you can you think you could send it in to me by this evening, late this evening?
Yes, ma'am, I think so.
Okay, that sounds good.
And then, yeah, the magazines I had weren't they were all skate related with too much detail. So I'm gonna go get like a more like naturey one with some texture and
Yeah,
more
you
just
can-
colors and stuff.
Okay, and you could probably like with the skate magazine, does it show like large pictures of skateboards?
No, not really. They were more like photography, just of the lifestyle and stuff. They
skaters.
didn't really, yeah, it didn't really suit what the assignment.
Okay, sure. That'll work out fine. If you get another magazine.
And then that's all we're sending into for
that's
next
it,
class?
because yes, yeah, because we're waiting for this. We have to wait for this other stuff to dry overnight. So you could just send that to me like in class on Thursday.
All right. I'll have it done.
Okay, have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you.
So we're good to go because I sent you my collage. We don't have to send you anything else, right?
No, you do not have to send me anything else.
Okay. And then is there anything like homework wise that we have to do or like have specifically for next class? Okay.
No, that's it. Just send me your collage, and then it looks like Julia sent her collage, and that's it. And then next class we'll, like at the beginning, we'll like draw in the shapes on your 10 by 15 piece of paper once it's taped down.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Professor,
Yes.
I will send the collage later today because I need to find more images.
Okay, that's totally fine. And Julia, you just asked me a question, and you like, since you sent the collage to me, you like that was your homework to send the collage. And next class, what you're going to need is like your paper, your paint, just like all your supplies. Bring all your supplies in, because then what we're going to do in class is figure out how to paint what is in your collage in a sort of analytical, systematic way. Okay. I guess that's it. You left. It's just me talking to myself now. Oh, now you're there. Okay. All right, Julia, see you later. Hey, Julia, can you still hear me? I just sent you an email. Oh, okay. So what I said, I just sent you an email, and I asked, because your collage has a lot of blank areas where the paper is showing that you attached your stuff to. And if you could do that where there's no, like, there's no paper showing, because we want these, like the collage areas, to cover up the whole sheet of paper. Okay. And then you could just send that to me later this evening. Perfect. And I'll probably, it'll probably be fine after you do that, and I'll look at it in the morning when I come in. Okay, so have a good evening, and thank you.